This is the fifth in a series of videos in which I'm restoring a vintage Mimi 803 computer. In the previous videos I got as far as repairing the faulty power supply. I then got the main board up and running. I don't know if all the faults are fixed on this yet, but it actually does boot up now and shows something meaningful on the screen. In the power supply I repaired all the basic faults. There was an open circuit in the main transformer, and I'm also replacing the spike suppression caps, the filter caps, with more modern types. I'm not putting the original reefer style caps back in, they're unreliable, so I'm going for more modern alternatives. I'm now looking at the mechanical aspects of the machine. So I've cleaned up the keyboard. This was filthy, and it's taken me a while to get this nice and clean, but it has come up almost like new, and the only sign of wear on it now is the return key text is fairly badly worn, but I won't be touching that, I'll leave that as it is. I have taken images of the ROMs and the PROM that's on the main board for future reference. They read fine, so I'm assuming there's no issues with them. And then it was on to the major part of the repair, which was the case, which, if you remember, had some fairly major cracks in it. So I'll just grab that and get that onto the bench. Okay, so the case had a couple of major cracks. It was broken all the way through at this section, and then it had another break at this part. As I detailed in the previous video, the way I repair breaks like this is to mill out or drill out slots, and then to insert carbon fibre and then epoxy the whole thing in place. The ratchet strap is of course to hold it together while it sets up. This has had 24 hours so far, and I use standard epoxy. It does tend to be stronger once it's fully cured than the rapid epoxy, and of course it gives me more time to work with it while I'm getting it all aligned. So what you can see is I milled 2 slots and then inserted 2 strips of carbon fibre. I drilled holes through the carbon fibre to allow more bonding area, and also to make sure that there was no air trapped between the carbon fibre strip and the actual case. And of course milling through the paint coat means I'm not actually trying to glue to the paint, which can just pull off the plastic. I'm actually bonding directly to the plastic. So this method gives an extremely strong repair, and this section, once it's fully cured, will be stronger than the original plastic. And it needs to be, because there's a very heavy weight for the drives and power supply that hangs off the plastic case. I'll just flip this over so you can see it from the top. It's not going to be possible to completely obscure the cracks, but what the future owner can do if they want. I don't own this, it is for sale if somebody's interested. Not from me, but from the person that owns it, and I will put a link to that in the final video in this series. If the final owner wants to, then he could repaint the this part of the case from the outside, and it would look brand new, and the cracks would then be completely obscured. So I'll just flip this over so you can see the crack from the other side. So you can see that I haven't cleaned this up yet. It will clean up slightly better than this, but the crack is it's reasonable. You can still see it, but it is completely flat and doesn't stand out as it did before. But more importantly, it is now a single piece, and I will give this another 24 hours to finish curing. But as I said, it's now, you can't feel it at all, so if anyone wanted to in the future, they could just repaint this. Personally I wouldn't, I'd leave it as it is, and once this is cleaned a bit further, then the crack will be much harder to see. So that's it for the case. As I said, I'll leave this for another 24 hours. I can then take the strap off and then start to reassemble this section. Before I do that, I need to look at the disk drives, because they're the first thing to go in. So I'll just grab the disk drives and show what I intend to do with those. Okay, so these are the 2 disk drives. They're pretty much identical. They're sitting on a metal base plate. That is bent. I don't know if you can actually see this, but this machine's obviously been dropped at some point, which I'm assuming is what's caused the plastic case to break. So I will take these drives off the base plate and straighten that out. If I try bolting it back in as it is, it's more likely to just crack the case again, so I do need to make sure this is sorted out before I start trying to reassemble it. For the drives themselves, these are fairly standard drives for the time. You see a lot of these. In newer machines you'll find that even if there are two drives, you'll have a master drive and a slave drive, where there's generally only a PCB on the master. In the older machines like this, they're almost identical. The only thing that's different really is one's got an extra device that enables them to be differentiated between by the machine, because obviously they do both sit on a common ribbon cable. So I have unscrewed this, it wasn't like this, and I need to get this out of the way. So what I will be doing is removing the boards, take the screen off, and you can see that it is absolutely filthy. The guide rails that the head runs on, this one's actually seized up, I can't move it, so I'll need to take the rods out and give this a good clean. Now if you do this, don't remove these screws, otherwise you'll have a major problem trying to get the head realigned, and it really is a problem. It's not impossible, you just need a proper disc with a proper alignment track on it. The other thing I do with my own machines, I won't do it on this because this is not mine, but on my own machines I take this connector off. Everything's on plugs on this this drive, so all the LEDs, everything's on a little 2-pin plug. But this particular part of the assembly is what pushes the captive cone down onto the disc. It's what basically engages the disc with the drive. But when you push the lever or the button on the front to pop the disc out, this thing pops up at a fair rate of knots, and eventually what happens is, because of the weight of this connector, it breaks the tiny little pins. It breaks the tiny little pins off this sensor. So this is the sensor that detects the sector hole in the floppy disk itself. And there's this, and then there's another part of it underneath. So basically it's effectively a two-part slotted sensor, optical sensor. So one end's got an LED on it and the other end's an optical sensor, and it just detects the hole as the disc rotates, so that the electronics can figure out where the disc is in its rotation. You've then got the two heads. This is double-sided drive. The heads don't look too bad, but they do need cleaning. So I'll take this whole thing apart to a certain degree. I'm not going to strip it right down. Give it a good clean, and then when I get it all reassembled again, I'll try and do some testing on it. But as I said in the previous video, I don't have any floppy disks for this, so I can only do fairly limited testing. What I do in that case is I put a disk in, I hook a scope up to the output of the electronics, and then see if I'm getting data out of it. Even if the computer can't make sense of the data, it will at least prove that the drives are capable of reading disks to a certain degree. Doesn't prove they work 100%, but it's the best I can do without some actual software. The rest of it's fairly straightforward. It's just a case of cleaning, lubricating where some lubrication is needed, and that's it. The belts, which I'll be able to see when I take them off, they're on the underside. Generally don't have problems with belts on drives of this era. You can generally tell if you try rotating the bottom drive cone, you'll hear it clicking if there's a problem with it. And these sound fine. They're not made of rubber, they're kind of like a Kevlar material. It's very tough, and they do seem to last extremely well, even if they're left standing for a long period of time. As long as you free them up gently, then they do tend to recover, and they last almost indefinitely. I have very few problems with those. I'll clean up the electronics boards, and as I say, I'll make sure they're giving out data, reassemble it, flatten out the bottom mounting plate, and then I can start to reassemble this, and by that time the case should be fully cured, and I can start to reassemble the entire machine. Okay, so that's it for this video. Any questions, then please leave comments. Any advice, then please let me know.